Hi everyone, hello, welcome to fifth week council, Hilary term 2018. My name is Joe Inwood, I use he, him pronouns, and we're just going to get underway. So the first item is minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any issues arising from those? Seeing none. Any matters arising, from the previous minutes? Nope, there are no elections in council this week, so we will go to reports from and questions to the sabbatical trustees.
Guess I'm going first. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie. I'm the Vice President for Women at Oxford SU. I use she, her pronouns. Obviously, we all do video reports, so if you want a more in-depth analysis of what I've been up to, please go onto our YouTube page and look at the videos. At the moment, I'm prioritizing redoing the training for first responder training. So if you're in a common room that doesn't have first responders, please get in touch with me. It's something I'm really trying to push out across the colleges at the moment. It's a really useful skill for welfare officers, women's officers, that type of thing. So make sure that your officers are trained, and if they're not, come and tell me. Thanks.
Hello everyone, I'm Marianne Melson. I'm the Vice President for Graduates and I use she, her pronouns. Since last council, I've had the first meeting of the Graduate Access Working Group. It was really lovely to see quite a few graduates being interested in doing something about graduate access. We're hoping to have another meeting later this term, so if any of you are interested in improving graduate access and outreach, please get in touch. Something else I want to mention is last week we had the Extraordinary Council where we voted on a motion about UCU and the strike, and I've been spending quite a bit of time in the last week trying to turn that policy into practice. Latest update is today I've met with a representative from UCU, and hopefully we'll be able to put some more on our website, give you some more information in the next few days. Just waiting for a bit of information from UCU. So even though you might not have seen much on our social media channels about this, lots of things are going on behind the scenes, and I hope I can update you soon.
Hi Council, I'm Catherine. I'm your Vice President for Access and Academic Affairs, and I use she, her pronouns. So since the last full council, a lot of my time's been taken up with UCU as well. Obviously we had Extraordinary Council last week as well as our elections. Congrats to my successor, by the way. And there's been a lot of stuff, like Marianne says, behind the scenes. So we met with the proctors. It's been coming up in committees, and we've had various meetings at the university. Also, one of my campaigns is Target Schools, and they have shadowing days during the strike. So we're currently working on a process with them so that we don't put off potential applicants. And loads of things have kind of happened because of the strike. So my departmental review for the end of this term, which was Politics and International Relations, which I mentioned in my video report, has been postponed. We don't have a new date yet, but they've decided because of the strike to postpone it. And my projects as well are a bit on hold, and we are currently reworking parts of them to make sure that we still do the best work for you that we can. So yeah, that's all from me.
Hi, I'm Farheen, excuse me, the Vice President of Welfare and Equal Ops at Oxford SU, and I use she, her pronouns. So a couple of updates from me. We had the Equality and Diversity Community with Katie that we organised together last week, and part of that was a Preventing Prevent briefing. It's really important, just to echo again here, if you haven't had this briefing or you don't know what's going on with Prevent in Oxford, please do get in touch with me. We're going to be organising another one soon. It's really, really important to pass the message on to JCRs and MCRs if possible, and get in touch with me if you have any concerns that are Prevent related or event booking related. As a second thing, I've been working on the Year Abroad project. Catherine, we're going to be hosting a information session in 7th week for students undertaking study abroad as a kind of this is what the university gives you, this is what you can find out locally, and hopefully that will be done in association with various people across the university and student body. And as a final thing, I'm going to be doing welfare officer focus groups for the next few weeks, hopefully, to try and collate some information on what baselines we should be setting for welfare across different colleges and PBHs. And I've also got Tom's report to council. So he apologises for not being here today. Sorry, Tom Barringer is the Vice President for Charities and Community. So Tom says he apologises for not being here today. He's at NUS Advisory Board in London, helping on the NUS, the National Union of Students strategy, making sure that it meets the needs of students like Oxford SU's membership. His full report is online, and key things to know are bike doctors, which are happening Wednesday of 7th week and 9th week, and had happened earlier today as well. There's also going to be an environment and ethics rep meetup Tuesday of week 6, and a charity rep meetup on Tuesday of week 7. And he also passes on his congratulations to his successor, elected last week, and to the 4 RAG charities for the next year, which are the Porch, Aspire, Oxford Inter-University, and Education Partnerships Africa. And see you all soon.
So Kate is not here today, Kate the President. She's unfortunately feeling ill and she had to go home, but her full report is online. And if you have any questions, you can either email her or you can ask them now. Maybe one of us can answer. If we can't, we'll pass them on to her.
Great. Is anyone with any questions for the sabbatical trustees?
Hi, Tom Katz, he, him. I was just wondering if you've, in relation to the strike, have you had a chance to talk to the university about improving communication about the impact on teaching services? Because still a lot of the people I've talking to have heard absolutely nothing about lectures and so on.
Marianne, Oxford SU, she, her pronouns. Yes, we are head of student engagement and something else. Comms. She's got a nice title. Anyway, she's working with the university's Department for Communication to try and get them to send out more information from the university. I think while we're waiting for them to do something, we're also trying to improve our FAQ. We're going to update it as soon as possible. So whenever we have information, we're going to update that too.
Dane Rogers, Merton College, he, him. Marianne, do you know if there will be picket lines outside the colleges regards the UCU strikes?
Yes, I happen to know that there will be no picket lines outside of colleges. The UCU representative that I've talked to today could confirm that the UCU is not in a conflict with the colleges because they're not part of Universities UK, which is the body that they are in a conflict with. So everything will be business as usual in colleges.
Thanks very much. Would anyone from Oxford SU Campaigns and RAG like to give a report?
Hi everyone. Oh, geez. I'm Tanika. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm president of Oxford RAG. 2 quick things I wanted to talk to you guys about. One is slightly less relevant, but quite fun. One is fashion show tickets are still on sale. They are going out of sale tomorrow, so please buy them. That's the relevant one, sorry. And 2 is that we've been working really hard as an Oxford RAG committee for the past year, that our time is almost up. We are opening up for elections that happen in 6 weeks, so you can nominate yourselves for a position now. All of the information is on our website, so please do have a look at it. And if you have any questions, feel free to come and grab me at the end. RAG is great. I think it's amazing. We do a lot of really good work, and if you guys want to get involved, please do. The hustings are open till Wednesday of 6 weeks, so you can nominate yourself straight up until that deadline. Thanks.
Okay, great. So moving on, items resolution number 1 is desks for postgraduate research students. So would the proposer like to come and make a speech? Well, thank you.
And it's 3 minutes, right? Cool. Hi guys, Will Prescott, University College, pronouns he. being a humanities research student is an isolating enough experience, particularly when you don't actually have anywhere to go. I think a lot of this stuff is explained in the motion, but just to highlight a couple of things, like why a desk really matters. Well, not having one, I mean, when you're doing a PhD or DPhil for some reason, as we call it, you're working on one giant project the whole time. That presumably means you have to lug a large number of books around here and there. And it's not really practical if you're trying to finish up a chapter or trying to work anywhere if you've got nowhere to store those things on a daily basis. Working at home means, you know, it's quite lonely. You can always just lie in bed. It's not particularly socially friendly. That actually slows down completion rates and is bad. And, you know, particularly like mental health is a particular issue. This is particularly worse amongst postgrads. This is only another reason to support this. The other thing to note is that practically every other university, as far as I know, provides these desks, and most other faculties within Oxford provide desks for these students. Particularly as this is meant to be a kind of full-time job research thing, this is particularly important. It's just a general sense of equity, like why is it that some students some faculties provide these things and others don't? In terms of going forward from here, of course, the objective would be as a starting point, or as an end point, to get all postgraduate students to have somewhere to work that is theirs, where they can dump their stuff, where they're not restricted by arbitrary library hours. But it's also, in the short term, there are various things the colleges, I suspect, could do. I mean, let's remember that when the Tinbergen disaster unfolded a few years ago, or less than a year ago, like, to say, you know, I'm not saying this is nearly on the same like scale of urgency as that, but they were able to rehouse an entire department fairly quickly. There's no reason to assume that, assuming the university had the will and the departments willing to cooperate with one another, that at least some temporary arrangement could be found for at least some, perhaps like the final year students could go ahead. And going forward, it would be really great if we could have the mandate of council to try to press the university to actually try and change these things going forward. Because it's hurting students, it's really substandard for an international university, and it reduces our ability to attract people in the future. I really hope you support this motion, guys. Thanks.
Great. Are there any short factual questions about this motion?
Dane Rogers, Merton College, he, him. So I'm based in the statistics department, which is not humanities, but we're having a small issue with the space being very full. We recently moved into a new building. We're very close to capacity, and so as the numbers are going to go up, we're going to get overstretched before very long, and arguably already are whenever there are summer school students. Would you consider asking the universities to move the lecturers and academics into the smaller rooms and the postgraduates into the larger rooms so as to make more efficient use of space and to avoid this problem?
Okay, thanks very much for the question. Just for anyone who hasn't been before, we try and do short and factual questions, which are just short questions based on the sort of the content of the motion in a kind of purely factual way. But there will be time to discuss this if you want to make points of debate later, so I'll just give back to the proposer.
Well, I guess to try and provide a short answer to that, I mean, how this goes forward is really up to the university, and it's also up to the sort of the vice president and the divisional reps to see how they most effectively move forward. But yeah, like whatever works really.
Jazza Mansfield, MCR, he, him. So do we have any kind of an idea or estimate about how many postgrads and researchers are actually affected by this, and if there are any clusters of them within particular departments?
In history, there are I think about 300 research students. A small number of those, like in various specialized things, like the American research, the Rothermere Institute do have some, but they're a very small number. So we are talking in the hundreds of people here. It's quite substantial.
Glenn Kelly Bretson, Lincoln College, he, him, is that the form? So as a medievalist, sources can sometimes be hogged by somebody if they have just big stacks of books that they hoard on their table for months at end in previous institutions. That has been an issue that I've experienced. Is there anything, I don't see anything in the motion that addresses that issue, but is it something that we would consider adding to the motion, that although you have
As in,
desk
like,
space.
the hoarding of library books or the hoarding of...
Right, so you have a space available for you, but it doesn't mean that it becomes like a locker or like an office where you can leave stuff.
Well, I mean, my understanding of it is sort of a bit based on how I had a desk when I was a research student at the University of Adelaide. So basically, and this is how most universities would do it, is that you have a desk, presumably in some kind of shared office, and it's effectively tied to your name, and you can dump stuff there, and everyone who wants one gets their own. So just as the person next to you can dump books there for months on end, so can you if you want to do it. Yeah, that's the whole point.
Okay, great. So if there are no further questions, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this motion or in any way raise any objections? Okay, seeing none, it passes. Okay, we're going to move to item 2, which is the European Union, and I'll just invite Marianne Melson to give a speech.
I'm Marianne Melson from Oxford SU. I use she, her pronouns. So last term, I brought an item for discussion to Council to get some opinions about how we're moving forward in terms of our policy on the European Union. The policy we have at the moment was passed before UK voted to leave EU, so it felt like the policy was maybe a bit out of touch with what had happened since then. So it feels appropriate to update it. I took it to Council last time to ensure that we had a chance to have a discussion about this before I just put something together, because my impression is that there are many different opinions about this in the student body. So the motion I've submitted for this Council is based on the minutes from that meeting. I've tried to capture all the different opinions in the room as well as I could. If I haven't succeeded, let me know.
Okay, cool. Great. Does anyone have a short factual question? Oh, there must be one. Oh, wow, there are no short factual questions. Fantastic. No, okay, great. Would anybody like to make a point about this motion? Fab, yeah.
Jazza Mansfield, he, him. Do we want to perhaps specify the type of support that would be provided for those potentially affected by Brexit? Because saying support is all very well and good, but I think that people are especially looking for concrete kind of ideas around this.
I think we can definitely do that. The reason why I've left it quite open is because I imagine the situation is going to change. At the moment, there are loads of things we don't know about. Hopefully, we'll know more soon, so we're not just hanging around in uncertainty. But I think at the moment, there's a lot of concerns about uncertainty, and hopefully that's going to change. So by leaving it quite vague, I was hoping that we can interpret this as we go and the situation changes. But if there's a general feeling in the room that it would be good to specify it, I think that's completely fine to do.
Okay, any others? Okay, does anybody object to this motion? We've got one. Okay, so we were going to take a vote. Would anyone like to then speak in opposition to this motion? Okay, so if not, we're going to move to a vote. So it will be 1 for, 2 against, and 0 to abstain. Okay, closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that passes by 35 votes to none. Amazing. Okay, item 3, bringing Class Act into line with other SU liberation campaigns in SU bylaws. So I'd invite the proposer to make a speech.
Hi, Hilary, he, him, Wadham. Yeah, so this motion is just so in the SU bylaws, all of the liberation campaigns have exemptions from different policies, or like, so where other liberation campaigns have 3 votes in council. They have provisions so that they aren't allowed to have their committee decided by the council, which other campaigns, if an exec in the campaign isn't following the constitution, it can be changed by a council vote, and then we don't have to follow SU policy. I think it's really important that we can also have these things along with other liberation campaigns, and that's kind of the campaign's position. So this is what this motion does.
Are there any short factual questions? Yep, seeing one in the 4th row.
Hi, Samuel St John's. I'm new here, so could you just explain part 3 of council believes, what it means by should not have to follow SU policy? Like, what specific policies should it not have to follow?
It basically it's a provision so that if policy is made in council, and that's made by anyone that turns up to council, the campaign doesn't actually have to follow the policy. So if it was something specifically decided by a council that presumably or doesn't necessarily have to be made up of people that are students that we represent, it means that we don't have to follow the policy. In terms of specifics, it doesn't. There isn't anything currently that I don't think that we that I think that we'd particularly object to, but it's really important that we have that provision, which all 4 other liberation campaigns do.
Yeah, but it says passed, and if the proposal wasn't passed, it was seen and noted. Proposal. No, but the proposal didn't pass, right? That was the point. The proposal went to consultation. That's all that was passed in that note. Right. Yeah. Is that okay? Sure, that's fine. Yeah. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Can I just say it's a point of clarification?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll do that first. Okay. Okay, so I think is that a point of information or just a question? Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, what's the where it says council members who are not from backgrounds where it says about removing an elected member of the Class Act executive? So what in this circumstance would be the procedure for removing someone for, say, negligence or whatever?
Oh, sorry, could you just give your name and your college and pronouns? Sorry.
Samuel St John's, he, him.
So this basically the liberation campaigns have a different procedure whereby the council can push the exec so a position on the exec to be taken to election, but then there is an election amongst the kind of members of the campaign, which would be the people on our mailing list. So rather than the council being able to choose who the exec member would be replaced by, this just means that it's taken to election, which effectively that.
Okay, so we've just had an amendment received from Faheen Ahmed Oxford SU. She wants to give a brief summary of. Yeah. If you want to read it out, I guess.
So Faheen Ahmed Oxford SU, she, her. So the amendment is literally to just take out in notes 1 passed and just say seen instead, because it wasn't actually passed in first week. It was just observed and then drawn out to consultation amongst the campaigns that were identified in notes 1.
Fantastic, and that's been taken as friendly, so that amendment will be added to the motion. Does anyone have any opposition to this motion or would like to make a speech on the motion? Is there any opposition to the motion in general at all? Then it will pass, and it passes unanimously. Fab. And then we just have below the line, with this motion on your agenda number 4. Would anyone like to see this item discussed in any way? So it's number 4, updating the Oxford RAG Constitution. This was marked as below the line. If anyone would like to discuss it, then just raise your hand. Yep, okay, so seeing someone would like to see it above the line. Oh yeah, go for it, no, yeah. Oh, there's a spelling mistake. Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah, that's it. Just someone should correct that.
Can we do it right now? Can we just? Yeah, we might be able to. Yeah. This is democracy in action. Oh wow! What? This is what we live for. Okay. Great. So was that the only Was that the only kind of? Yeah. Otherwise, this will just pass below the line. Fab, and it does. Great. So we have an item for discussion. Which is, do we need a college system for graduate students? So I think Marianne is going to introduce this one.
Marianne from Oxford SU, I use she, her pronouns. So this is a fairly controversial question. The reason why I wanted to bring it to council is not because I'm suggesting that we should abolish the college system. Let me just clarify that. But in various committees and various discussions, sometimes it comes up, well, you know, grads are not using their colleges anyways, or what are the colleges doing for graduate students? And I think I've had a really good experience in my college, but I'd assume, since we are in the university, we can all agree sometimes it's great to have other things in your personal experience and gut feeling when you're trying to argue for something. So I hope you can give me some reasons why grads should have a college system, or maybe some of you have some reasons why grads shouldn't have a college system. Either way, I'm really interested to hear your opinions about this.
Okay, great. So should we start in the corner? All right. So when Lincoln...
It's just better for the recording.
Oh, you're recording. All right, then. Well, Glenn, Lincoln, he, him, his. As Lincoln is celebrating the oldest MCR 60th anniversary this year, ironic that we're now discussing this, I suppose. But in terms of ammunition for why, a lot of funding for individual students are tied up for college. You get rid of the college system, most of that funding disappears. We've already heard from the humanities motion concerning desks. A lot of students don't have a community at faculty. They don't have lab members, so college is your community. And B, or C, I guess, just because you don't opt into the system doesn't mean other people should have to opt out.
Samuel St. John's, him, his. I was just going to say, I'm not sure what arguments you can apply to abolishing colleges for graduate students you could apply that wouldn't apply to undergrads. There's still the sense of community. The colleges do house people, at least St. John's certainly does. So I'm not sure exactly why. It seems like a fairly unnecessary question, really. Yeah, that's all.
Thanks. Ed Love, St. John's, he, him. I suppose the question is perhaps put because the university decided it was going to take, I'm not sure how many hundreds of more graduate students than had originally been accepted this year, and essentially force them onto colleges that were willing or unwilling to take them. And that has resulted in not only an increased capacity, but also a question of do these graduates that were taken anyway without college places need them? They were given places, of course, but could there be students in different divisions who spend all their time in labs or medical sciences and things who don't spend any time in a college? Is it, for example, for them necessary to have a college base? And anecdotally, many graduates would happily not pay the college fee and not be attached to a college if they are not fully funded, for example. So this is not so much a question about abolishing the college system as whether the university could start admitting graduate students who don't need a college affiliation because they have a strong departmental one. as far as I understand it.
Claremont Kellogg, her, she, her. This question is probably potentially most relevant for part-time graduate students who are actually not physically in Oxford to take advantage of a lot of the benefits that and services that colleges provide. At the same time, you could also argue that being a part-time student makes a college even more important for the times that you actually are in Oxford, because it gives you a specific base. It's debatable. I've heard it, part-time students make both arguments. Just in answer to why this may be more relevant for graduate students, graduate student teaching is not based in colleges, which is very unlike undergrad students, so that's a major part of it. As a college that has had quite significant fallout from the increased acceptance of graduate students this year, our administration has been extremely stretched, as has all of the support and services that college provides. I think that's actually an argument for the importance of the college system, because every student coming still has the same basic needs, and the colleges play a massive part in actually providing that experience.
Jazza Mansfield, he, him. There are really interesting points raised by the two people who spoke before me, especially about part-time students. As a part-time student who was only recently based in Oxford, that's actually a very good point that in terms of like the college fees that you're expected to pay, it's like, well, what am I actually getting out of this? I will say, as the welfare officer for Mansfield, that there are certain things that are incredibly valuable for postgrad students that are kind of best given in like a college setting, in my opinion anyway. And kind of like this ability to have a first point of contact for welfare and for provisions like mental health and like minority issues is super important for grad students, and it only really, and the easiest place to access it seems to be from college rather than from departments or from the SU. But yeah, really good nuanced points that have been raised so far.
Thomas Lineker, he, him. I would just like to point out that a lot of postgraduate students come from abroad, and because of that, a college is a great place for them to integrate, where otherwise they could feel lost in Oxford. It's actually one of the reasons that a lot of the graduate colleges were actually established in the first place, because before that there was no system for college system for graduates, international graduate students, and so I think that's yeah.
Lily Regents, she, her. So to me, it seems like the problem with graduates and colleges isn't that graduates belong, well, it just seems like colleges should basically do more for graduates rather than taking graduates out of colleges. Because fundamentally, to me, it seems like a good idea to have some kind of base community. Like, my faculty doesn't really engage us that much. There's not really very much space there or socializing time. My course is quite small. So the college has to become like the most important place for community and socializing. And I'm not saying that that's like perfect by any means, but it seems to be more about the way in which that's carried out rather than the fundamental principle of it.
Okay. Sam, Merton College, he, him. I wanted to firstly ask if anyone has any information on what actually happens to the college fee, because like the university is often quite flexible in how it moves money around. And secondly, wants to flag that if we do have both graduates both inside colleges and outside colleges, I suspect that would create even more bureaucracy in Oxford, in a place that's already heaving with bureaucracy, and where our sabbatical trustees already spend a lot of time sitting on committees. And I think that's a point worth bearing in mind.
We're just going to go to Marianne just quickly to respond, I guess.
Marianne, Oxford SU, she, her pronouns. Just to respond to that question, so from next academic year, the university has decided instead of charging a university fee and a college fee for graduates, which is the current status, they're going to charge one fee because it's a bit misleading with a college fee and a university fee, because you would expect your university fee goes to the university and your college fee goes to your college. That is not the case because Oxford. So at the moment, you pay 2 fees. All of them go into the same bank account. Then there's a nice big distribution, Excel spreadsheet, whatever, that comes into play and makes some calculations, and then that decides how much of that money goes back to the university and how much goes back to the college. And that is not necessarily proportionate with the way you paid it as a student. It depends on what subject you study. Some subjects are more expensive for the university, so a larger proportion of your fees will go to the university in that case.
Dane Rogers, Merton College, he, him. Something I think that's to some degree related, even if it isn't directly within our remit, is postdoctoral students who are not actually students but actually employees, and almost all of them are graduated graduates. A lot of those, I think, in my department aren't affiliated fully with the college, and they don't particularly like it. So I just wondered whether you think there are any intersections between that and graduate students and how it all fits together.
Hi, Lucas Wadham, he, him. I'm an undergraduate student, but I served as my Wadham SU president last year, and I think that graduates within the college actually have a really beneficial impact for undergraduates as well. A lot of things with our welfare provision wouldn't have run as well without graduate involvement, who gave a lot of time and effort. And in terms of negotiating with the college and representing students' views, graduates also were able to present a united front and really get our points across together really well. So I think it benefits undergraduates as well to have graduates within our colleges.
Okay, we're going to go. We'll go to the question halfway down the. Oh, yeah.
Bill Kroger, Queens, he, him. A number of people from my college, I'm a graduate student, a number of people in my MCR have expressed interest in this issue and unanimously are in favor of keeping a college system for a couple of reasons. One is the one that Lucas just mentioned, that there's a relationship between undergraduates and graduate students, and that graduate students can play a helpful role. But graduate students, you don't want to underestimate the degree to which graduate students also receive something nourishment from being part of a college community, which enables them to be part of the Oxford community. So one of the people who expressed interest in favor of keeping the college system is a junior dean, and her argument is that colleges need to play a larger role, not a smaller role, in making it a comfortable, safe environment for graduate students. And I guess adding to that from my own perspective, I think that the colleges are all separate. And in the United States, we have huge universities and we have little liberal arts colleges, and you have things in between. But a lot of the problem with the large universities, if there's a problem, is that they don't have small communities that people can belong to. And so it's easy to get lost. I just want to put my 2 cents in terms of being in favor of having small colleges. You have colleges, and you have some universities in the United States that actually have schools within their colleges for this very reason. So it just makes it a lot easier for people to become part of the student body and to feel like they belong. Yeah, and so everyone I talk to, and that's a bunch of people, are all very much in favor of keeping the college system.
Will, Univ, he. I guess just to rehash some more ground, I mean, I completely agree with what everyone else has said about the importance of colleges creating a sense of community. I am also from a similar sized institution that didn't have a college system before. The fact that this breaks the university down into sort of manageable chunks is hugely important. And even if you don't use it, it's still there. And there are other ways with which you can engage with the college system. And that's the unique thing about Oxford. In terms of making it optional, I'd be very concerned this potentially would undermine the entire college system, in the sense that many people would be tempted to just take the cost saving and not sign up to a college system, and potentially not even be aware of the thing on which they're missing out. And I don't think that's helpful for anyone.
Unless there are any more points. Oh, there's one more. Yep. And then we'll wrap up with Marianne.
Yeah, Dane Rogers, Merton College, he, him. Just to follow on from what the, if I may jest, right honourable member from Queen's College said, I think in the case of Wolfson, in terms of other useful things the colleges provide, Wolfson, I think, provides a free nursery, if I remember correctly. So if we were to scrap the college system, I would argue, make things worse for student parents who are already a marginalised group, and I'm not convinced that arguing for scrapping the college system is a good idea, particularly when they give other forms of welfare support, supportive communities, social activities for graduates, and lots of other stuff. So that, at least, I would personally be very strongly opposed to this.
Okay, I think we're going to finish up with Marianne, just to kind of summarise, I guess.
Marianne, Oxford SU, she, her pronouns. I think that I just want to comment on the thing about postdocs. So postdocs are not members of the SUs. I can't really do that much for them, but I think it would be, maybe we can do a straw poll. Can we do straw polls? Hands are fine, but do you think it would be an improvement for graduate students in terms of having like early careers, researchers networks in their colleges if more colleges also had postdocs? If you think it's a great idea, raise your hand.
This is completely like non-binding. It's entirely just a sort of show of opinion in the room. So the question can be put in any way that Marianne wants to, I guess. Yeah.
I would appreciate if we could just have some sort of, because I think so in our surveys, one of the things that does come up from PGRs in particular, but to some extent also PGTs, is that they feel they're not part of an academic network. And I think having some sort of idea about how this room feels about the role of early career researchers, postdocs in that would be really helpful for me. It's non-binding, and I appreciate there are details and complexities to this as well, but having some sort of feeling about it would be helpful for me.
So we're going to vote with the pads, but I think Marianne's just going to repeat the question, if that's all right, and then obviously it'll just be 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 0 to abstain. Or, yeah.
The question is, do you think it would improve the college experience for postgraduate students if more colleges had more postdocs?
Okay, I think we're almost there. Yep. And yep, I think we're good. Okay, so we've got 19 in favour, 3 against. Cool.
I guess the last thing is just thank you very much. If any of you have any thoughts on this, feel free to send me an email. It's really helpful for me to be able to take this forward in the work I'm doing. So, yeah, thanks.
Wonderful. Any other business? Great, see you in 2 weeks.